Scott. Frank. Nice to meet you, Frank.
Okay.
Scott. Nice to meet you, Michelle.
Hi, Rachel.
Nice to see you, Emma.
Hi, Rachel.
Scott. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Rachel. Hi. Haley. Nice to meet you.
Again, sorry.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you, mate.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Oh.
Okay.
Presents already.
Yeah, we might want some snacks after 4 hours of chatting.
Completely open to products.
Well, as long as you like jelly beans.
Okay, guys. Ready? Good afternoon. My name is Haley Parsons and I work for Bradford Industries in sales and marketing. We welcome you to the presentation of H2 today and we thank you for your time. It was suggested to us heading into this project to think big, think bigger and then bigger again. We've been somewhat innovative and creative in how we've approached the problem addressed to us and looked at it from well and truly outside the box. Team 3 is now known as H2 and we've come up with one big idea. We understand and take into consideration our presentation is somewhat complex today and we'll do our best to explain this to you in the time allocated. However, at any point in time, please feel free to stop us for clarification on any of the information we provide to you. As per KPMG's international report in 2016 titled, "The Future of Cities Creating a Vision," it stated, there is a strong correlation between the economic growth rate of a city and a high proportion of young wealth creators living within it. The net additional jobs they create also secure a city against any decline of its existing industries. In front of you today, there is a group of individuals from a diverse range of industries under the age of 35 that fit into this above quotation. H2 has been created with the following individuals who I'll now take a moment to introduce and also provide a short overview of what areas of our presentation they will be addressing today. Aaron Curtis, Operations Manager for Pacific National. He will address why energy and the Stage 4 regional benefits. Jared Fair, Strategy Analyst for AMP Control. Stages 1 and 2, which incorporate our 2 pilot projects and the creation of our Innovation Hub. Scott Baker, Solutions Manager for AMP Control, Production and Export Facilities. Rachel Callaghan, Project Manager for TSA Australia. She will address Stage 3, which will explain our funding for the first 3 stages of our concept. Robert Russell, Superintendent Planning and Scheduling for Port Waratah Coal Services, who will kindly provide an overview and conclude our presentation today. And lastly, we thank Dr. Tim Donoghue, General Manager for Tundra and our team mentor for this project. Our vision and concept has been divided into 4 stages with our intention of securing a $1 billion funding deal. This will assist in achieving our final end goal of establishing a Shell R&D headquarters within the Greater Newcastle region. Shell will be used as our anchor tenant to create our R&D headquarters and the final purpose to create a hydrogen manufacturing facility and export chain. This will be assisted with the collaboration of many other industries and businesses across the Greater Newcastle region. H2 understands that a major part of this project was for the Future Leaders of 2019 to network with businesses across the Greater Newcastle region. We've sought guidance, information and approval for our vision and concept from other employees all the way through to federal government members. Behind us today, you can see our branding and logo, H2, which ultimately stands for hydrogen, one of the 2 key elements of our vision and concept. H represents where this all resonates from, the Hunter, which is largely built on energy from coal. 2 represents the second version, Hunter 2.0, continuing to build the Hunter on energy, however this time using renewables, hydrogen and ammonia. And finally, this transition, which leads to our tagline, Rethinking the Hunter, which represents ultimately how the Hunter region currently engages with energy. I will now hand you over to Aaron, who will explain our vision a bit further in detail.
Thanks, Hayley. What a great introduction. Big question, why energy? Should you reinvent yourself, or do you lead the transition in utilising your strengths, skill sets, commercial relationships, transport and logistic networks, and importantly, existing assets such as the Liddell Power Station? During a meeting with Pat Conroy, the Shadow Minister for Climate Change and Energy Efficiency, Pat weighed in and supported our H2 transition. His extensive research as an economist, Pat stated, regions that transition successfully are the regions that utilise their core expertise rather than reinventing themselves. Essentially, improvise, adapt and overcome. We have encompassed this ideology in our identity and positioning concept for the Greater Newcastle region, with the aim of holistic integration in our energy ecosystem. Our culture is built on hard work, ingenuity, and what I've found out during this research is a hell of a lot of modesty in our region. This is built from our steel industry and coal mining background, which is stamped in our Novocastrian DNA. Unfortunately, this legacy has left a shadow of progression and provided some challenges to attract ASX-listed companies to the region. The Greater Newcastle region being the epicentre of thermal coal production and export in New South Wales, directly employing over 20,000 employees in the mining industry. In 2008, exporting 158 million tonne of coal from the Newcastle port alone. 80% of that export was to 4 countries, Japan, China, Taiwan and Korea. A major percentage of the export being 44% to Japan alone. Identifying the requirement for transition, H2 are aware of not only the ambitious goals from our Australian government, but also the majority customer of the coal export industry. Japan's national hydrogen strategy, which aims to reduce their reliance on fossil fuels by transitioning to a carbon neutral source by 2050, but without the land mass and resources to produce renewable energy, Australia essentially sits in the box seat to become the largest producer and supplier of choice to Japan. With the right policy settings, Australian hydrogen export could contribute $1.7 billion to our economy and provide substantial employment opportunities by 2030. With such focus on energy reform globally, we believe the transition will be a multi-step approach. It will be highlighted in our presentation to be a 25-year plan, mapped out and presented by my team. H2 has targeted hydrogen as a transition source, rethinking the Hunter. The H2 hub is created on a triple helix model, which integrates the Greater Newcastle regional businesses, educational institutes, and governments at all levels to become a global powerhouse in domestic and global production of export of green hydrogen, thus successfully transitioning our region and energy source. The H2 hub has identified Shell as an anchor tenant in the ecosystem, but heavily incorporated AGL, Orica, CAT, Toyota, Idemitsu, University of Newcastle, and the CSIRO, to name a few. We look forward to elaborating more and taking you through the transition plan. I'll now pass over to Jared, who will present stage 1, consisting of 2 pilot programs. Please be patient with Jared pronouncing Idemitsu. I've been correcting him now for 8 weeks. We've come to the compromise. Idemitsu will be pronounced Muswellbrook Coal. Take it away, Jared.
Thanks, Aaron. As Aaron has highlighted, Team 3 feels that energy has the highest feasibility to help drive the economic diversity of the region forward, and also help to build and continue to build the reputation of energy within our region. Though to do this, we'll need to start with smaller projects and scale up from there. We feel that hydrogen and ammonia projects should be included with this because it allows the region to be a little bit more nimble in catering for global trends as they develop throughout the world in renewables. The first project we feel should start with converting the garbage trucks in Newcastle across to hydrogen. This is a perfect project for the local government to show leadership and drive towards a new strategy direction, as well as helping the region push towards its carbon neutral city goals. Following the success of a project like this project could then be rolled out throughout the rest of the Greater Hunter, as well as the Hunter, to the buses, the ferries, and as well as the non-electric locomotives within the region. And of note here, the Liddell site up in the valley would make a perfect location to have a renewable locomotive refuelling depot, which put in there at a later stage. Similar projects have been tried or attempted throughout the rest of Australia, but have had varying success due to the complexity in trying to set up hydrogen refuelling infrastructure. We spoke to Orica, and Newcastle has the advantage here that we can tap straight into Orica's hydrogen supply. Although that's currently a blue hydrogen supply, that can be transitioned to a green hydrogen supply in the future. This project could be used to help strategically target Shell and Toyota's involvement, and then form as one of the early sort of introductions of these companies to the region, and also the companies that are within our region. In parallel to this, a second, larger, more significant project can happen in Upper Hunter by converting the mining haul trucks across to ammonia combustion. At the moment in the Hunter, there's approximately 450 haul trucks. These haul trucks, if they were all converted across to ammonia, would be the equivalent of about 165,000 cars, diesel equivalent, on the road. And if you looked at the ammonia consumption of these haul trucks in a global perspective, that consumption is equivalent to 0.75% of the total global ammonia production in 2018. This is a phenomenal amount of consumption within a tiny little area without the need to have a fully developed import and export infrastructure, which is all within the region itself. Though this would obviously, and these when we spoke to Orica, these numbers took Orica by surprise at the potential scale that's sitting on their doorstep, and it's to customers that they're already servicing. Though this would obviously need to start smaller and scale up from there. This pilot should start with transitioning Idemitsu, Muswellbrook Coal's 10 haul trucks. The mine currently burns about $22 million in diesel each year, approximately. If you were to convert these haul trucks across to ammonia, inclusive of the refuelling infrastructure, the mine could pay back this investment within 2 years. Idemitsu is a perfect choice for a pilot to occur because Idemitsu is already focused on environmental concerns. Idemitsu already owns and operates wind farms and solar farms in Japan, and Idemitsu has just signed an MOU with AGL to start looking at developing a 250 megawatt off-river pumped hydro on the Muswellbrook site. So this would be the first renewable site for Idemitsu in Australia, outside of Japan, in Australia, sorry. So as a proxy for the coal sector's interest in general, we spoke to the majority shareholder of Callide Coal. Ben indicated that if this concept, he's interested in this concept, if the pilots were successful and we could establish a secure source of ammonia, then he's definitely interested. Ben also indicated that he's also interested in the carbon offset potential for his mine trucks at the mine. This project would also attract further investment from our local companies within the region. CAT already has patents on ammonia combustion. Therefore, a pilot like this could be an opportunity for CAT to develop the next generation haul truck engine, of which the IP could then be exported internationally. AGL is looking to repurpose the Liddell site and favours an energy transition story. When we spoke to the AGL transition team, they felt that our proposal warranted further research to develop it further, and also indicated that they would love to be involved in either JVs or hosting pilot projects on their site. And Orica already owns the majority of the ammonia nitrate supply contracts into the Valley's mines, and therefore already has ammonia infrastructure sitting on the mine sites for the ammonia nitrate. These are further examples of the interaction and collaboration already occurring between the companies that we are strategically targeting to be part of our hub, and therefore goes to strengthening the proposal and the feasibility that each of these things can happen. Again, Shell and Toyota should be approached to be included in this pilot as another introduction to the region and another project, so they can again meet companies and then get familiar with our region. In stage 2, although it was discussed as a separate stage, in reality, this is occurring in parallel to stage 1 with the pilot projects. As soon as these companies are talking to the government and they're talking to education institutions and starting to work with them, then the hub is starting to develop on its own. The first 2 projects will showcase the region's ability to engage, develop innovation and drive collaboration between the multiple companies. Collaboration between these companies on such big projects will develop a strong R&D focus within the hub. Success of these pilot projects will help to not only strategically court companies like Shell to set up a renewable R&D headquarters here, but also Japanese companies' R&D operations here. And further to this, the companies that are involved in JVs and whatnot in the region will also want to set up R&D operations here. Our H2 Innovation Hub is envisioned to be centred around two regions within the Hunter. The first being the Upper Liddell in and around the Liddell site, which will then help the Upper Hunter their energy transition as it occurs. And the second will be focused down around the coast between the Newcastle Uni, up to Tomago and down to the port. This coastal energy precinct will be more focused on developing the longer term projects such as the larger supply chain coming all the way from central New South Wales, northern New South Wales, through to your manufacturing in the port and your liquefaction and then export. This will then help increase the region's global reputation as energy, the reputation that we already have. Scotty will now take it from here to discuss a little bit more about Shell and also our longer term goal objective of getting to exporting renewables from the Hunter.
Thanks, Jared. The collaboration between local and international companies is an exciting prospect for the region, and the Innovation Hub develops a great launch pad for Stage 3. Stage 3 is the development of our H2 Hub, which is by far the most ambitious step of our proposal. That is a 5 to 10 year time frame that will create a zero carbon emission hydrogen ecosystem. It will include new and existing renewable energy resources, green hydrogen production systems, and diversification of the port. In our conversations with Pat Conroy, he indicated that there were 4 feasible locations within Australia to set up hydrogen production facilities, being Karratha, Launceston, Gladstone and Newcastle. We analysed all 4 locations and found that Newcastle is a standout option with our innovative education and research institutes, experience in power generation, a deep water port with room for expansion, and experience in bulk commodity handling. Within the Greater Newcastle region, we've highlighted Tomago as a prime location for the first hydrogen manufacturing facility. The reason we've chosen Tomago is that it's located next to existing infrastructure with the high voltage power network, its availability of water, and proximity to the port. Utilising existing infrastructure is a key aspect to our proposal to ensure a quick and risk-free startup. Becoming the first Australian region to build the full production and export ecosystem is critical in becoming a global powerhouse for this new industry. We want Newcastle to be for hydrogen what Apple was for the iPhone. To meet the increasing global demand for green hydrogen, we're going to require additional large-scale production facilities. We envisage that these will be located within central and northern New South Wales. Building these facilities in these regional locations positions the production plants closer to the source of reliable renewable energy, thus reducing the transmission losses in the energy system and increasing the efficiency of our overall plants. Building large-scale facilities in these regional locations will require a minimum 2 pipelines. One, in order to transport the gas from the plant to the port, and the second, to bring water into the plant itself. Along with the economic benefits associated with the construction and operational maintenance of these large facilities, I'd like to take a moment to consider what the benefits of a permanent water supply pipeline could do to regional areas such as Dubbo or Tamworth, given our current drought situation. The Newcastle port is currently operating at 50%, of which that 95% by tonnage is done for coal. With Shell's global export connections, hydrogen export could provide a diversified and reliable commodity to protect the port against another global coal downturn. And this is one of their long-term strategic goals. Our first target export country will be Japan. As mentioned earlier, we already have strong relations with coal export. This is in line with Japan's national hydrogen strategy to fuel all cars on the road with a zero carbon emission fuel source by 2050. With the already strong trade connection with Japan will be strengthened through the completion of the Japanese and Australasian Economic Partnership Agreement which, when fully implemented in 2034, will allow for the export of Australian resources, energy and manufacturing to Japan to be duty-free. Export and shipping of hydrogen is a difficult task. Therefore, to ensure that we don't miss the boat in the global market, we plan on using Orica's local expertise to transform the green hydrogen into ammonia so that we can use pre-existing shipping routes. We also see this as a possible later expansion to bring shipbuilders such as Austral into the region to make hydrogen ships along with our innovation centre. This is an industry that is ready for rapid growth and innovation, and a company like Shell with a proven track record of jumping in the deep end on innovative systems like their development of the floating LNG ship, which is just incredibly huge in scale. We see them as a company who can provide the greatest value through the whole energy renewable system, from renewable power, production facilities and export. There may be other locations in Australia who can produce hydrogen, but we have the infrastructure and the expertise to leverage off our existing coal and energy industry. I'd now like to pass over to Rach, who's going to give you the information on how we can fund such an ambitious project.
Thanks, Scotty. So, I'm just going to run through the funding possibilities for our projects. So, for the stage 1 pilot projects, this will require initial investment from the local government and private industry. Additional funding would also be possible through the Australian Government and the Australian Government's Renewable Energy Agency, HErein. So HErein, they focus on accelerating Australia's shift to affordable and reliable renewable energies. They recently released an energy investment plan. It includes 3 key investment areas. Projects that integrate renewables into the electricity system, accelerating the hydrogen industry, and supporting industry to reduce emissions. Our pilot hydrogen and ammonia projects meet these funding criteria. Growing the hydrogen sector will require support beyond HERein's funding horizon. However, support now can drive the establishment of this new industry, as well as supporting research and development going forward. So, moving on from the pilot projects, I guess the overarching funding mechanism proposed for H2 would be securing further investment from the Australian Government through city deals. So the city deals are a partnership between 3 levels of government and the community to work towards a shared vision for productive and livable cities. This would align the planning, investment and governance to accelerate the growth of the region. So there are currently 9 city deals already in Australia with investment up to $1 billion and more. So the city deal will focus on leveraging the unique strengths within the long-term vision to enable the region's transformation. So our team has consulted a number of stakeholders to test the feasibility of our funding proposal. It includes Bob Brissett, who's the Mayor of Cessnock and also the Chair of the Hunter Joint Organisation of Councils, Michael Komnos, who works for Astra Lab Group. He negotiated the Western City deal, and as these guys mentioned, Pat Conroy. This consultation indicated that our proposal is feasible and very credible and could be included into the current Greater Newcastle and Hunter City deal proposal, which is currently under review. The H2 solution strengthens their current proposal as it focuses on the transition of the Hunter's energy sector, focuses on collaboration and innovation, and also includes the Upper Hunter. Furthermore, our approach addresses the government's 6 industry growth initiatives and aligns to the government's policy direction. National energy security is critical for the nation. City deal funding can be used to transform the region in multiple areas, as the proposal developed by H2 would require investment across the whole hydrogen value chain. So investment could look like targeted investment to deliver the world-class innovation hub, critical infrastructure such as refueling stations, hydrogen refueling stations, establishment of a government office for front-end studies, or it could be a water pipeline to Western New South Wales. The H2 proposal, in conjunction with the current City Deal proposal, would be a commitment between the Australian Government, the New South Wales Government and the Hunter Joint Organisation of Councils to a collective program of planning, reform and investment. Aside from a city deal, investment from the private sector would be required. However, a city deal would be instrumental to draw investment from major multinational companies for the R&D headquarters. Without a city deal, the H2 proposal is still feasible. However, in imagining the best future for Newcastle as a global city, a city deal would be transformative and make the Hunter region an even better place to live and do business. I'm just going to hand over to Aaron now. He's going to talk through stage 4 and some of the regional benefits.
Thanks, Rachel. I think we all can agree it's quite an exciting time for Newcastle if we secure that funding. Stage 4 is the final piece to the puzzle, developing Newcastle as a global city. Stages 1, 2 and 3 create the necessary ecosystem to allow the region to meet its full potential and attract not one, but many ASX-listed companies, as well as global companies, to improve the economic diversity of the region. Successful implementation of the H2 Strategic Action Plan with the existing Greater Newcastle Metropolitan Plan and award-winning Newcastle City Council Smart City Strategy, the region will be well on its way to achieving its goals. More importantly, recognised as a carbon neutral city and a city which is recognised internationally for technology and innovation. The city's reputation and image being smart and green, alongside the livability components that we all know, minimal traffic, lower land and housing prices, and improved lifestyle, will attract new industries with a key focus on environmental and social responsibility. Targeted investment to deliver the world-class innovation hub that drives the entrepreneurship and innovation in the energy economy will attract investment from the technology-rich industry. This hub creates new opportunities in Newcastle region to establish the new reputation for excellence and innovation and support a highly skilled and educated workforce. As a global green smart city, these attributes align perfectly to the trends of organisations who are focused on corporate and social responsibility. For example, global tech giants such as Apple, Microsoft and Google have committed and been successful in transitioning to 100% renewables. Atlassian are interested in creating a Silicon Valley tech hub for innovation in Australia and are extremely vocal about climate change and investing in renewable technology. Wouldn't it be poetic coming to Newcastle and creating that? The readiness to react to the scale of non-energy organisations seeking to operate in the Hunter is the final piece to the H2 Strategic Action Plan. Smart city services and sufficient infrastructure must be in place to provide communication lines to the universities and governments to ensure relocation with minimal red tape is achieved. Ultimately, successful implementation of the H2 strategy will result in rapid growth and economic diversity, with the hub's business attractions becoming the main assets to the region. Implementation of the Strategic Action Plan will result in many benefits across the whole region. Due to the unique strengths of our region's existing expertise in power, resource handling and research, the region is well placed to transition. It's important to understand that we can leverage off our existing knowledge and infrastructure in Newcastle and the greater region to develop this industry focused on green hydrogen production and export. As such, this proposal benefits multiple key industries in the region as incorporated in our hub. I'll now pass over to Rob Russell. Rob and I both work in the coal industry, and as young professionals, I strongly believe that we will see this transition in my working life. As future leaders, I believe it is fitting that we conclude our H2 Hub's presentation, leading the transition and rethinking the Hunter. So as in the cold chain, I've carried this presentation almost to the end. And as usual, the pretty boys at PWCS are going to jump in and learn the process. Over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Aaron. So as you've heard today, our implementation of our H2 Hub proposal will incorporate a triple helix model incorporating Greater Hunter Newcastle's region's businesses, education institutions, and all levels of government to become a domestic and global powerhouse in the production and exploitation of green hydrogen and ammonia. The H2 Hub proposal will be achieved through the creation of a complete energy ecosystem that incorporates the H2 Innovation Hub, the renewable energy generation, green hydrogen and ammonia production, and a complete transport system to facilitate export, creating the H2 Hub. To recap on our 4 stages that are supported by 3 specific projects. Firstly, we have in the short term, transitioning the City of Newcastle garbage trucks to hydrogen. Secondly, we're constructing an ammonia plant at the Dell Power Station to transition mining haul trucks to ammonia fuel, saving approximately 165,000 diesel vehicles in a 25-kilometre radius. And thirdly, a complete supply chain development from renewable energy generation to export facilities. If we examine the DNA of the Greater Newcastle region, our largest employer by nearly 5 times greater than its nearest is Hunter New England Health. However, our biggest contributor to the economy is Hunter Mining. It is also the single biggest, most valuable export to the New South Wales economy, contributing 18% of all exports by value that leave the state. As international climate goals put pressure on coal exports, and as our community expectations continue to change, and people continue to blockade streets in capital cities and superglue themselves to pedestrian crossings, Newcastle needs to act, and Newcastle needs to act now. We need to ensure that a decline in coal exports does not greatly impact the Greater Newcastle and New South Wales economies. Through the engagement of the likes of Astrolabe Group, who successfully negotiated the Western Sydney City deal, local and federal politicians, we believe through early pilot projects, arena funding, and ultimately supported by a city deal, that Newcastle is in the box seat. We believe that Newcastle can position itself to take advantage of the increasing demand in hydrogen exports, driven primarily by Japan's national hydrogen strategy, which aims to reduce its reliance on fossil fuels. Our vision, delivered in a staged ecosystem approach, incorporates an entire value chain and is both realistic and achievable. This has been validated through our various discussions with 27 various senior business leaders, academics, subject matter experts, local and federal politicians. Pat Connery even said that we had reinvigorated his interest in the hydrogen economy and wanted to take it to the next election. And then recently, when the team was down at, we were collaborating on our project down at Queen's Wharf, having lunch, we thought what we noticed was the first ship coming in for hydrogen for export. Now, our team, we have a range of skills across our team and we've collaborated very well, but one thing we don't have is very good Photoshop skills, so the foreshore did not need to be evacuated on that day, but at the end of the day, with a little bit more sort of, not so much closer to Horseshoe Beach, so we don't end up with another Pasha Bulker-like incident. This could be a similar vision for Newcastle, where we see hydrogen ships coming into the harbour, taking on our hydrogen and exporting it around the world. We are ready. We have a genuine and realistic proposal, and we think the Greater Newcastle region is ready. Thank you, and